Gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. You look good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. Wednesday, August 13th. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It is Wednesday. It is Hump Day. We are nearly halfway through the week, and of course, we continue that countdown to football season, both high school and college, and the pros as well. They start a little later than high school and college when it comes to the real games. But that countdown for the week continuing, that countdown to football continuing as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and checking us out. If you're watching us live on YouTube, we appreciate that. If you're watching us later on YouTube, that's awesome as well. If you have not subscribed, please do so ASAP. I had somebody say to me the other day, I never know when your show is going to be on, which isn't kind of true because it's usually 10 o'clock every day. Rare exceptions. But also, if you're subscribing, then boom, you get the notification, the reminder, hey, the show's starting. You can check us out live on YouTube every single day. Also, you can chat with us as well. That's one thing during the football season we're going to start to focus more on. It's hard to do the show and produce the show and punch the show and all those kind of things, which we'll get to in a second because I can't get Ked Prince's name off of my two screen. So right now our first guest might be Ked Prince, although it's Tom Kakert, but we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, so subscribe. Long story short, subscribe. Tell a friend or 2 or 10 about what we're doing here in the Quad Cities each and every weekday off the air with Matt Randazzo. We are also live on X. X has been very good to us, continues to be good to us. So if you're watching us on X, thank you for that as well. And also we're available on all those podcasting platforms as well. So as I always say, if you want to listen to the show and not look at my ugly mug, I understand. Do so ASAP. On today's show, we mentioned Tom Kakert right around the corner. We'll kind of get caught up from last week's Media Day and the Kids Day. There's a lot of maybe overblown reactions from Kids Day and what people saw, how QB1 did, all of those kind of things. So we'll talk about that. The running back room, what does that look like? Sleepers, who's going to break out this season. Tom Kakert coming up in just a little bit from the Hawkeye Report. Also, in a minute here, we'll kind of get caught up on some Illinois news because they had Media Day yesterday. We got some sound from Bret Bielema on our local guys when it comes to Matthew Bailey and when it comes to Cole Rusk. He also mentioned Mac Rosetich's name, former Hall standout as well. But we'll hear from him on the 2 main Quad City kids, Cole Rusk on offense playing tight end and Matthew Bailey playing defense, coming up in just a moment here as well. We mentioned those off the air high school football previews. We're going to stay in the Three Rivers today, and we're going to check in with Tyler Whiterbead on his team coming into the season. Erie-Prophetstown made the playoffs last season, winning 5 games and nearly upset the number 1 ranked team, the number 1 seeded team in the postseason. They led with like 3-4 minutes to go. So they get a lot of those guys back, a lot of talent returning. So another one of those teams in the Three Rivers that has the needle pointed in the right direction and has some expectations this year as well. So he's coming up later in hour number 1. And then in hour number 2, we'll hop the river. We're going to go up to Central DeWitt and check in with Clay Waterbury. He is beginning his 2nd season with the Sabres, and numbers are up. Hopefully wins are up as well for them. So we'll catch up with Coach Woodbury coming up or Waterbury, excuse me, coming up in just a little bit. If you've missed the shows this week, Luke Johnson was on Monday. A Rockridge standout, former Rockridge standout, played at Wisconsin Platteville. He's now the defensive line coach at Colorado State. He's just 28 years old. It's a fascinating story on how he got to there and that position. So check that out as well. Ken Prince has been on this week, and we've continued those football previews, kind of focusing on some high school football teams as we continue to lead up to the high school football season. And what it does for me too is it introduces my show to different communities around the area that might not know what my goofy self is doing these days as well. So this week alone, we've checked in with Rock Island, Davenport Central, Mediapolis, and Riverdale. And as we mentioned, Central DeWitt coming up today and Erie-Prophetstown coming up today as well. Last week, we hit up UT and Sterling and Davenport North and PV, North Scott. I'm missing some. A lot of great content. We'll get those previews out in separated form here coming up in a little bit as well. Gives me something to do over the weekend or when the kids get back to school, which is next Monday. Not that I'm counting down those days as well either. So a few news and notes, or excuse me, a few programming updates. Don't forget, last Friday we did the show live from Iowa Football Media Day. You'll hear Tom Kakert today, but if you want to check in with Mark Gronowski, Kirk Ferentz, Addison Nostranga, some local standouts. It's all from Friday last week. A lot of fun live from Iowa City at Iowa Football Media Day. Check that out. And also, we're going to do a special show on Sunday. We're teaming up with our friends from View from the West. It's all part of a larger River Rivals Media network that we've been working on and starting. But we're going to do a live show from the other bar. It'll be on this YouTube channel. It'll also be on the View from the West YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to that, shame on you, do that as well. And then also it'll be probably on my X as well. So bunch of coaches from the Illinois side of the river coming down there as well. We'll talk football. Godfather's a great sponsor of the show. Going to toss a little pizza our way as well. Great drinks at the other bar. So if you're out and about, come on down. Join us 5 o'clock this Sunday at the other bar. And if you're not able to make it down there, check us out live on the YouTube channels as well. Some news and notes. We'll start with a little baseball, then I want to get into a lot of football. Cubs lost again. Brewers won again. Brewers have won 11 straight. They're 29-7 since July started, through July and into August, obviously. So they're red hot. They're now 7.5 games ahead of the Cubs in the National League Central. Cubs more worried about that wild card nowadays than they are maybe securing that than they are looking up at the Brewers. But we'll keep an eye on the Cubbies because postseason baseball most likely still in the cards. So, yeah, it should be an interesting August into September with them. But I want to start today with Illinois Media Day. It was last night down in Champaign. I had somebody say to me, well, you went to the Iowa Media Day. You didn't go to Illinois. I didn't make the 3-hour trip down there. I didn't do the show live from down there. So, but we do have a lot of coverage from that as well. We had Ken Prince on yesterday, and the media talked with Bret Bielema about our local standouts. And it's funny because he only had a 20-minute press conference. Then I'm sure he separated away to do one-on-ones. But in that 20 minutes, he mentioned by name several times our local guys, Matthew Bailey, Cole Rusk, even Mac Racetich. So that was cool to hear from. But he was asked about, I'm going to start with Matthew Bailey because I've heard this story before. But Matthew Bailey has gone through some injuries at the University of Illinois. But when he's been on the field, he's been really, really good. Ken Prince and I talked about it yesterday. I think he's an NFL player. He's going to play on Sundays. I think he's the best player on the defense. I really do. And so the way he got to Illinois and the journey that he got to Illinois, I've heard about it. I think Matthew's told me about it. I want to say Bret's even told us a little bit about it as well. But he went into detail about that yesterday and how he went from being a really good athlete at Moline and almost stumbling in his audition, if you will, for the Illini, and then eventually making his way down to Champaign and where he's gone from here. Here's Bret Bielema.
Matt Bailey successful here. Well, I'm just glad it's here, right? Because he was only offered by us, and we're the only school that offered a scholarship. But my guess is that there's probably 100 schools now that wish they had, and I give a lot of credit to him. When he came here on campus, true story. we were all excited about him. I loved his film. He played a little bit of wide receiver, played a little bit of quarterback, played a little bit of DB. He came in the spring. I think he had been in 3 track meets that week or something like that, and probably played in a baseball game and a basketball game or whatever it was. And he came in and he ran, but he didn't run as well as my assistant coaches thought he'd run. And I didn't watch it because I was involved with something. So I got the times and I got the film. And he was going to walk out the building, and he was very disappointed he wasn't getting a scholarship. And I met with him and his mom, and I remember he was very emotional. Mom was emotional because he thought they were going to get a scholarship offer him. I was sitting in my house that night about 9 o'clock, and I'm like, something just told me, you need to call this kid, right? You need to call this kid and talk to him. So honestly, about 9:30 that night, I just picked up the phone. I called his high school coach, who I think the world of, and said, hey, this is what I'm going to say. What do you think? He said, Bret, I believe being honest is always the best thing to do. So I just told him, listen, man, like, maybe today was a disappointment you needed to have to get to where you want to go. And it doesn't make sense now, but it will in the future, right? And then, we went and watched him play basketball in January, and the coaches that were there literally called me and they said, what are we doing, right? Like, it reminded me so much of Dre Greenlaw, is a kid that I had at Arkansas who now just signed Denver for whatever it was, $50 million, right? He was a guy that we didn't offer in the spring of his going into his senior year, but we waited till about midway through his senior year. So I literally remember calling Matt that night, and then the coach called me the next day and said, hey, I'm glad you called him. That really kind of made him feel empowered. And then his senior year was special, and the moment came, we called and offered him again. We didn't offer him until like 2 days before signing day because I knew if I did, other people would follow. And we've been lucky enough to be the recipient of Matt Bailey for a long time. He's got 2 years, and to be honest, like, if he plays the way I think he's capable of playing, he'll probably have a decision to make, just because he's an elite football player. He's an elite person.
Really fun story to listen to. Things that hopped out to me there is I love the fact that he didn't offer him until about 2 days before signing day, because it's true. And that happens before. It's happened at the University of Iowa. It's happened at Illinois as well. Once one coach hops on somebody and offers, most of the time the other offers are coming. I remember Logan Lee and his process, and how when Iowa offered, a lot of other schools offered, and he didn't even much contact, or they hadn't even seen him play. It's just usually a copycat business. So I thought that was really cool. He mentioned elite person 1,000%. They don't come much better than Matthew Bailey. And then I think it's something that Ked Prince and I talked about yesterday. He's got the ability to play on Sundays. Ked and I kind of talked yesterday, and I mentioned to him that, like, we're going to have some interesting NFL drafts coming up in the Quad Cities. And last year it was cool when Darian Porter was taken in the second round. And the year before that, Logan Lee was taken. But you're looking at Charles Jugasol, if things go his way and he gets healthy and performs the way I believe he's going to, being an NFL prospect real soon. Probably already is. Matthew Bailey's the same way. I think Cole Rusk can be that guy as well. So I think that's really cool. I want him to stay healthy. He mentioned that he got dinged up a little bit, wants to be back in, but he's going to probably sit out a few days before he gets back in and gets rolling. I think strained a muscle or something like that, pulled a muscle in his back. See, that's the problem with all these guys. They got too many muscles. As Ryderback once said, the former Cubs closer, you can't pull fat. Like, I'm as healthy as can be. I can't pull fat. So, anyways, great to hear him talking about Matthew Bailey and what can be at the University of Illinois. Their defense is usually really good, and I think he's the catalyst, especially in that secondary. Look at the NFL guys that they've sent, or the guys they've sent from the secondary to the NFL. One of my favorite players, Kirby Joseph, playing in the NFL as well. So, cool to hear that as well. Another Quad City kids that Bret Bielema talked about was Cole Rusk, transferred to Illinois last year, expecting big things and looking really good, and then was out for the year with an injury. Back healthy once again. I know, eager to get rocking and rolling. Cole is another one of those kids that's better person than a football player, and that's saying something because he's a real good football player. But second year in a row, he's taken the time to come up from the University of Illinois to golf in my dad's golf outing and represent Illinois and win. I'll make sure Cole gets that out there, and win, beating Iowa. So he, they asked Bret, and what's a really full tight end room. and talented one. And I kind of found that out when they came up to golf in the outing. He brought with him 2 other tight ends, and they all talked about playing and how close they were and how good they were. So I know it's a full room, but I think Cole Rusk is going to make an impact this year. Here's Bret Bielema on Rock Island's Cole Rusk.
I've been super excited for Cole, righty guy that came in with high expectations, was really rolling, had a good spring for us, had a good fall, and then really just got himself, obviously because of the injury, like just a lot of anticipation to get back out there in the spring. He was out there for a little bit, then got sidetracked a little. So we're super excited to get him into fall camp. I think his first catch was kind of one of those, okay, I'm back. Unfortunately, he came at an angle, a DB knocked the wind out of him, so it was kind of anticlimactic, but he got right back up in there today. Had a couple of really nice, really tight window traffic catches in the red zone. But he's a big, long athlete who the good thing in that room right now is like it's the deepest room we've ever had, so I think competition is bringing the best out of everybody.
And I believe that to be the case as well. Can't wait to see Cole Rusk on the field for Illinois this year and watch him build it's been a really good career for college football for Cole Rusk. See him build at the next level at Illinois as well. Again, the Illini start things up. They're ranked 12th in the country. They start on August 29th. They host Western Illinois. That's a Friday night. So the first Friday night of high school football will also have Illinois football as well, which is exciting. Iowa opening up their season on August 30th. The Iowa Hawkeyes will welcome Albany to town for their first game of the season. So really fun to talk college football. Yesterday we talked a lot with Ked Prince, and full disclosure, this is not Ked Prince, but my system I can't get to work right now, which is really frustrating. So I can't change the name under my guest, but this is not Ked Prince. We have Tom Kakert joining us now to talk a little Iowa football from Kids Day this past weekend. So let's talk a little Hawkeyes with our good friend Tom Kakert from the Hawkeye Report. What a busy, fun weekend it was to have Media Day. I know you went out to Big Ten Media Day in Vegas, but to have Media Day and get to talk that's a smorgasbord. That's a buffet for the media. To get there and to get all those interviews, you're going to be hearing them for the next, 2 weeks probably, before we get more access or whatever it is, a week and a half, and then to have Kids Day. First and foremost, Tommy, football's back. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a busy couple days. I always say, I said it's like you're drinking from the fire hose and then they shut it off and you go back out in the desert for 2 weeks. You got nothing to drink, but they give you a fire hose for like 24 hours where you're just like gorging water or whatever. But it's just, Friday is just so busy. It's a fun day because I get to catch up with some of the younger players that we probably won't see the rest of the year, and get to talk to some of the coaches, which I enjoy. But and then Saturday we get to see the team a little bit. But now we're back into the desert and trying to come up with things to talk about or write about until we get an actual depth chart on the Monday of game week. So but I've still got a lot to digest, a lot to write about because there's some interesting things going on, I think.
Yeah, it's funny. I think I was watching one of the local stations the other night, and one of my kids was like, they got that interview on Friday. I'm like, oh yeah, like who am I using these interviews for like the next 10 days to give us something to chew on before we get into it. I'll start on Friday. Conversation wise, like who did you enjoy catching up with, seeing those kind of things? Obviously
But last year he got healthy and he got on the field and a little bit, and now he's in the two deeps. And talking to him about his journey, and I got to credit George Barnett because I had talked to him about Mike, and he's like, Tom, he's a really good story. This is a really good story. I think you ought to talk to him sometime. And I'm so glad I did, because he told me the story about how he was dealing with this knee injury and battling and fighting and just wasn't turning the corner. And at the same time, his brother's battling cancer. So
wow,
what a toll that was taken on the family, and just how gratifying it was last year to finally get on the field. It's late in a blowout game or whatever, but he got on the field, he made a great block, and he celebrated like he had just won the Super Bowl. Because for him, just having that moment was made it worth it. And to see him talk about this story and his story and what he did. And the cool thing is he already investigated getting an extra year. So there's a chance that he could come back next year and potentially maybe be a starter at guard. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But what a great story it would be. And it's stories like that make this job fun. It's not cliches. Given from I'm just here working hard, da 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 da. That stuff. This was a kid with some raw emotion sharing his story, and it was just like I saw him there, and I was like, boy, I really want to talk to him. I got to talk to this kid. It was like the last offensive interview that I did, and they were dismissing all the offensive guys, and I was like, I gotta get this, and it was, probably 6 or 7 minutes, but it was awesome, and it's up on our YouTube channel, so if people want to see it, it's up there, and you can watch it.
Yeah, go check out the Hawkeye Report YouTube channel for that. Like Tom, I talked to Kyle Girardi, and that was kind of fun for me because obviously you want to track the Quad City kids, and boy, he fits that mold of a Gervais and a Greenwood and a Conklin and all those guys from our area that use that preferred walk, maybe getting opportunities. So like you want to see that development, but it was crazy to talk to him, and we talked about it last year. He was maybe one injury away from trotting out in the field in Los Angeles against UCLA. And we asked him about that, and he said, he's like, if Strat went down, it was me or Max White. And I have no idea. It was cool to I go, how did all that happen? They said, they heard I played in high school, and they took me out of a meeting, I think he said, and I went out and spun it. Yeah. And I said, how'd you spin it? He goes, I can still spin it. So those kind of things I think are cool about what media day is. And obviously everybody wants to talk to Kirk and the big names and all those kind of things, but it's those kind of interviews. So check out Tommy's interview. Check out the entire Off the Air on from Friday, because great stuff throughout the entire show, live up in Iowa City as well. Let's fast forward a little bit to Saturday. And I was super excited, and I still am, about Mark Gronowski. I thought he was one. I just loved his demeanor, his personality. You can see a genuinely good guy. And I had heard so many great things. And then I didn't go to Kids Day. And I've heard it was an uneven or an up and down day for Mark Gronowski, and I think everybody's kind of worried and kind of flipping out. And now he's just come back from an injury and some rust and all that kind of stuff. Your thoughts on Mark Gronowski from Kids Day, and are people putting too much stock into Kids Day right now?
Yeah, I think so. Mark's going to be fine. He's rusty right now, and he's getting better every day. And I think you sense that talking to Kirk parents that, hey, look, he was really rusty those first few days. He's shaking some of it off. He's getting there. You just got to be patient with it, and it'll come together. And the other thing that he's going to give them is a guy who can pick up some yards on his own, running with the football. And that's something they have not had. So I'm not concerned about him. I think he's going to figure it out. I saw enough in terms of throws down the field and stuff like that, where I feel pretty good about where he's headed. You can see the positives. You can see that things are getting better for him. So I am not all that concerned about what's happening with him right now. I think it'll be good.
How did your message boards handle Kids Day?
Hey, you know what? I got some more company on the Hank Brown bandwagon that I've been championing.
Yeah, I saw him on Media Day, and it was great because he came down to my dad's outing, and he was great to chat with for a second, all that kind of stuff. But yes, I will give you credit, because let's fully kind of explain this. You were the mayor, governor, president of Petrus Island, and that didn't go too well. What was the other one that you were? You were on Cade McNamara. McNamara last year.
I was on McNamara Island too.
So hopefully, third time's the charm when it comes to Hank. But you're right. I've heard, and you can
Spencer
more.
was okay.
He looked good.
Spencer was okay. I'll
Yeah.
defend Spencer. I'll defend Spencer. Cade's tough to defend at this point, but
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. So obviously, and you can just tell. I mean, it was crazy for me to chat with Kyler Girardi and have him talk about almost taking a snap next year. And then you look
Yeah.
at what they had on Saturday, and we've talked about it at length, but you could see firsthand, maybe Tom, on Saturday, the transformation of the quarterback room at the University of Iowa has been dramatic, to say the least.
Yeah, like um, Shaggy, Jackson Stratton's the only guy that was around last year this time. That's in that room.
Yeah.
Um, I like the Hecklinski kid too. I think he's pretty good, and he's smaller, but he's kind of got that that piss and vinegar of a Drew Tate kind of player. So I'm interested in him. I think it'll be. I think the thing that I came away with two things. I think Gronkowski's going to be fine, and the other thing that I feel pretty comfortable with is they're going to get off the hamster wheel of having to go out and get a quarterback in the spring, provided Hank Brown and Jeremy Hecklinski don't hit the portal. You can't ever say guys are never going to hit the portal, but provided both those guys come back, that quarterback situation is they're going to be able to go with one of those two guys. I think it'll be Hank next year, but I think they got three really good options this year, and dare I say maybe they have three options that were better than anything they had last year in terms of options.
No, absolutely. And I think it's one of those things that Iowa fans can definitely be excited about that. Tom Kakert joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Tom, I got to figure out the running back position because I know there's talented backs there. And obviously Caleb Johnson was the man last year. And I don't know, though, at this point, if you would have gone back to August, 13th, last year and said Caleb Johnson was going to do that, you would have probably thought we were crazy. Or if you would have said, let me change it. If you would have put those numbers that he put up and said which running back did it, it's probably not Caleb Johnson that matches that. So that's the thing about the University of Iowa. There's talented guys. I know the freshman McNeil impressed a lot of people. Can you figure that position out for us? Or what are your thoughts on the running back position right now?
Hey, we were early on the McNeil thing too in the spring. He was an early enrollee, and I remember Blair and I were both like watching him in that final spring practice, and we were both like, "Oh, there's something here." A wiggle to the wow! I didn't expect this from this kid, and he's legit. You look at him, and you see a back that you can just go. Yeah, that guy's got it. Whatever it is, he's kind of got it, and he's got that wiggle to him, that move to him that is really intriguing. I'll tell you, Xavier Williams also having a good camp too, the redshirt freshman, and he's getting a lot of ones. Last year I was on the Kamari bandwagon going into the season, and he did start the first game, and then Caleb Johnson came in the second half, ran for $120, and started the Iowa State game, and the rest is history with that. And Kamari's carries went down. I'll also point out, like last year, going into fall camp, LaShawn Williams was the starting running back.
Yeah.
And he was top of the depth chart, and he got dinged up a little bit in camp. He had a little hamstring, leg issue, whatever it was, and missed time, and then just never got going. And by October, he was in the portal. So it can, I'm not saying that Kamari or Terrell Washington Jr. are going to head into the portal or anything, but they're still not out there. And so you've got these young guys that are leaving a pretty strong impression and getting all the reps. And you wonder at what point are is Omar Young, the coach, going to just kind of, the position coach for Iowa running back, going to say, hey, we're going to go with the kids early and see what happens while you guys round back into shape. And I wonder what the carries are going to look like I was talking to Omar, and I think he's kind of taken the approach of, hey, maybe some guy will emerge. Maybe some guy, the guy who goes out and just kind of takes the job eventually. Tim Lester with the Big Ten Network on Monday night was kind of indicating, hey, maybe this is a year where we got to do a committee. And then I got to thinking, well, the last time they kind of had that was maybe like 2015, where they had Kinziri, Leshawn Daniels, and then Akram kind of emerged, and he was kind of like the third piece of that puzzle. But they had like three backs that they could do. And I don't think you can go beyond three. That's the issue.
Yeah.
It's hard to get three. You can do two pretty easily, but it is hard to feed three. So I'm really curious how they're going to distribute the carries. But the big thing is Kamari and Terrell have to get healthy.
A name I didn't hear all weekend was Jess Patterson, and then Big Ten Networks at practice,
Yes.
and and then you start hearing, wow, like he's having a good. That's a guy that I kind of expect a lot from. And let me throw this question out for you. Did you think? Now, obviously, you said Kamari didn't start the first game. Caleb Johnson but he had to sit that first half, didn't he? And then
first half,
when he hit
Caleb
the ground running, he got going. And I think the coaching staff knew that Caleb was the guy as they got ready to start last year. Do you think they know who it is right now that might be that next guy? They're just, we don't know yet? Or do you just don't think they have, they're just waiting to see?
I don't think they knew. I don't think they would tell you they knew Caleb for sure was going to be the guy. They had, he just went out and did it and matured. I mean, he really matured last year and grew up a lot. He listened to Liddell Betts, and he'll tell you that's what he did.
Good guy to listen to.
He grew up and now it paid off for him. So now it's opportunities knocking for somebody. I still think somebody's going to emerge as kind of like the bell cow, but I don't know who it's going to be.
I don't want to get too in detail with defense because we'll be here all morning, but what was the headline on Saturday in your eyes? Maybe a headline or two about that side of the football that fans can kind of get ready for.
I like the front seven.
Which includes linebackers, obviously.
Yeah. I really like the front seven. I thought the D-line had some good stuff going on. Carson Shire is living up. I just hope that kid stays healthy because, boy, he was flying around. I mean, he looked like another old 43 out there flying around.
Josie
Jewell. Yeah.
You got me.
Of course.
Yeah. That's the best 43.
Of course.
That's the best 43.
Yes. Yeah. So, I thought Carson, I said along, back to the spring, I said, that kid stays healthy, he's going to be an all Big Ten level performer, and I'm going to stick with that. He's just got to stay healthy because he was just everywhere. Corner's a concern. TJ Hall's been out, had the bone bruise. Jacob Wallace, one of the true freshmen, was getting second team reps. So Phil seemed to be pretty high on Deshaun Lee and what he's seen, but burned into the memory banks of Iowa fans is that video clip of Reese Vandersee roasting Bean Lee on a pass play. So that's all the Iowa fans think of now is that, oh, he got roasted on that play, instead of Bill saying he's had a really good camp.
Yeah.
So Jalen Watson's another guy. Phil is just, boy, he is so steamed up about the big plays last year. He's just not going to let him have that stuff happen. I should mention too, by the way, Seth Anderson is having a great camp, and he is healthy, and he had a really good day on Saturday catching the football. He just, I lost you.
Yeah, you're back. You just said, and I'll edit it in. You just said Seth Anderson had a really good day. Pick it up from right there.
Seth Anderson had a really good day. He was, making plays down the field, and he's had a really good camp. This is all going back to the spring where he was really tremendous. That's why when I did my my fearless forecast and my 10 bold predictions, I said he's going to lead the team in receiving because he stays healthy. He's a terrific receiver, and he's got a chance to have a special year. So him and Shire, if they stay healthy, boy, they could have really impactful seasons at Iowa.
Tom Kakert joining me right now and off there with Matt Randazzo. I don't want to keep you a little bit longer, but I want to talk to you about the Big Ten as a whole. I'm an AP guy. Like or just polls in general. I know it's not that big of a deal anymore, and with the way college football and the playoff is coming, things are different. But I love the AP poll and the coaches poll. So what was it? 6, I think, Big Ten teams. I'm going to mess it up, but probably Penn State 2. I have it here. Penn State 2, Ohio State 3, Oregon 7, the Illini at number 12. Michigan 14. So 5 of the top 14 teams from the Big Ten, and then Indiana at number 20. And I guess I looked at that, and Iowa has Iowa State, who's 22, on the road. But then every Big Ten team that's ranked right now comes to Kinnick Stadium this season. I find that just fascinating, intriguing, and opportunistic if you're Iowa wanting to, and there's Iowa not ranked for the first time. And I don't think they were ranked last year either. I can't remember.
Yeah, it might not have been ranked.
But usually they're roaming around and kind of in it. In fact,
they were kind of down the list.
Yeah, well, and they didn't get a lot of votes. And our buddy Ked Prince, he says he wasn't taking a shot yesterday, but he said, Illinois kind of replaced Iowa and Wisconsin as that Big Ten team in the top 25. I guess your thoughts of the Big Ten as a whole, and I think the way it kind of breaks down, the ranked teams come to Iowa City. That's opportunistic if you're the Hawkeye fan.
Yeah, with the exception of the Iowa State team that Iowa's got to travel to. But, the Big Ten teams, they're coming to Iowa City. So I think the conference is really deep this year. I think there's probably 2 or 3 teams that are a cut above, but that 3 through 10, throw a blanket over it. I mean, if you say Illinois is the 3rd team and then you can say Iowa is 10, I don't see much gap there.
Yeah.
In fact, if they played on a neutral, Iowa might be a favorite. I think there's a lot of equality in the middle of the Big Ten heading into this year, and I think there's also some. Penn State, I think, is on paper the best team. Ohio State's got the 2 best players, but they have a massive question at quarterback, and I don't know how that's gonna shake out. And they've got a huge test. How about the fact that the number 1 team in the country is an underdog in the first game of the year?
How about the first weekend of the year? We get 1 versus 3, 6 versus 10, and I'm gonna mess up the other one, but there were like 3 top 10 matchups. LSU and somebody. I'm gonna mess it up.
LSU and Clemson.
Yeah. So you get 3 top 10 matchups the first week of the year of college football. I think it's fascinating. I think it's awesome for the sport. Are you it's funny, and I will tell you this. I'm going to tell you this off the air. Might as well tell you on off the air, if that makes any sense. Somebody tweeted at me, and it's a great tweet, and they said, they were excited about me working for the pregame show, and they go, "What's more ironic? A guy with a tiger hawk is coaching Illinois, or Mr. Illinois is hosting the pregame for Iowa." I said, "That's pretty good. That's well done. That's well played." So, are you? And 9 of the last 11 times Illinois was ranked preseason in the top 25, they didn't finish ranked in the top 25. Are you buying Illinois football this year as a college playoff team?
No, not as a playoff team. I don't think they'll get there. I think that September run, that game against Indiana is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll learn a lot about both those teams in that game in September.
And that's before Iowa.
It's before Iowa. Yeah, it's before the Iowa game.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. So, well, you're supposed to say no. That's a good question all around as well. So, Tom, I know that there's a ton at the Hawkeye Report. Kind of talk to people about what's at the Hawkeye Report. Is the special still going on with the Athletic?
Yeah, still $1 for the first 7 days, and we'll give you a complimentary subscription for 1 year to the Athletic, so you can read Scott Docterman and can read all their great baseball coverage and their football coverage. The college football stuff is tremendous. College basketball stuff's great there too. So they've just it's a great opportunity to get basically a bonus gift. I mean, you're getting the Athletic plus our national stuff. I mean, Ross Dellinger is going to be writing a weekly column for On 3. He's one of the best college football guys in the country. Got Brett McMurphy's doing all kinds of stuff for us too. We've got like 2 of the 3 biggest newsbreakers are working at On 3 now. We've got a great staff of football recruiting guys, basketball recruiting guys. So, it's our little business is doing really well right now, and there's more to come. There's more stuff that's coming online with On 3. So come join us. It's first 7 days, just $1, test it out, and then hopefully you stick with us.
That's Tom Kakert saying stay tuned too. That's like a little tease, as they say in the business. 2 quick things, and I'm not gonna go crazy on this, but Caleb Williams has to play sometime this preseason, right?
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
Were you disappointed he didn't play game 1?
No.
Okay.
Didn't matter.
I mean, because the Lions, way they do things is they don't play their starters, but they've been in a system for long enough that they didn't need to. I'm just curious to see, I think they need to get out there and play. And then last, we'll talk Bears and argue Bears later. I can't wait to argue with you all year about the Bears because the rivalry might be back because you guys might be relevant. Not good, but relevant. And you're trying to be the Lions, which is cute. And I need to thank you because I did take this dang show on the road on Friday, and there I was afterwards sweating my you-know-what off with all this crap and equipment, and there's Tom Kakert, the only guy left in the bubble or in the practice facility, not the bubble anymore, thank God, helping me take stuff out. So I appreciate that as well. You hopped on the show, which was fantastic as well. So Tom Kakert, always there to help a brother out. I appreciate it.
Well, just I needed the exercise is what I needed.
Yeah, I did take you back to your car, so it's like a win-win.
You drove me a quarter of a mile.
Yeah,
yes.
I drove you like 3 blocks or something like that. So, all right, Tommy, I appreciate it, guys. Go check out his stuff at the Hawkeye Report. Always a ton to get to. And Tom, it's 2 weeks from Saturday. We're getting there. We're getting there real fast. So I appreciate you.
It's fair. Thanks.
All right, that is Tom Kakert talking Hawks here on a Wednesday on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. A lot more to get to as we get rolling on Hump Day, a Wednesday on Off the Air. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak, with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo, now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Are you looking to take your next party, tailgate, or golf outing to the next level? You need Mobile Party Experience. MPX features 3 top-of-the-line party trailers equipped with all the amenities you need to party like a rock star. Smart TVs, Yeti coolers, JBL sound systems, grills, bathrooms, and much more. Mobile Party Experience is an experience like no other. Check out my-mpx.com or call 563-514-1470 and book your Mobile Party Experience today. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. Happy Hump Day. Hopefully everyone is having a great week because we're almost to Friday. And Friday is almost to 2 Fridays from now, which is the start of the high school football season. That's right. We are almost 2 weeks away from high school football season. We are continuing our OTA high school football previews. And on the Illinois side today, we stay in the Three Rivers and we chat with Erie-Prophetstown head coach Tyler Whiterbead. Coach, first and foremost, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. I hope your summer was well.
Yeah, summer was busy. We were just talking about having 2 kids and having kids and having little kids. For some reason I waited a little later in my life to have kids, and now I'm just kind of figuring out how to try to juggle everything and then be a head varsity football coach and make sure the football team's getting enough reps, but making sure my wife and kids are happy at home as well. So it's a juggling act, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a balancing act. I probably tell the story too much, but there was a weekend this summer where we had 16 baseball games between all 4 of my kids in just one weekend. So I always tell people that have like 2 and 5-year-olds, like, enjoy the heck out of it. I mean, I enjoy this. Don't worry. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy but it's going to get real busy. So enjoy the 2-year-old and the 5-year-old while you can before you become their chauffeur really quickly. You go from being dad to just a chauffeur fast. So enjoy those days. I know there's excitement and the entire Three Rivers Conference, it seems exciting to me this year, which is exciting to fans, maybe tough for coaches because it is a good conference and there's a lot of good teams out there. But talk about Erie-Prophetstown. Made the postseason last year. Heck, almost pulled a fantastic upset win in the first round of the postseason. What's the momentum like right now for your program as you go into year 3?
Yeah, I think our guys are super hungry. We've always told our guys that, it's a gauntlet. The Three Rivers is a gauntlet. And if you can find a way to, scratch and claw and get into the playoffs, you have an opportunity to do some damage. And I think that showed last year, getting in at 5-4 and then playing a team that was 9-0. And again, no disrespect to any other conferences or any other teams, but being right there, actually having the lead with I think 3 or 4 minutes left in the game, and that was a devastating loss. But at the same time, it was an unbelievable game for our players, for our fans, for our community, and I think if we continue to give them, to give our community, to give our players the opportunity to see games like that. We had to travel 3 hours, it was awesome. It was just such an experience, and it's it's something people that don't maybe like football will gravitate towards. So that we want to give the community, the players, that experience.
No, absolutely. And you look at it too, Coach. It's motivation is a crazy thing. How do you guys approach last year into this year? I know a lot of coaches turn the page and look forward. You have that motivation of seeing it, and you mentioned the community getting behind it and all those kind of things, and the boys believing it. But then you also got that maybe the opposite motivation of, you mentioned, I mean, up with 3 minutes to go, 4 minutes to go in the game, there's that motivation of being really close to doing something extremely special and not quite getting there. How have you balanced motivation, I guess, going into this fall?
Well, just 2 days ago, when we started practice, I showed them a picture of our team last year, and I talked about great moments that we had. That playoff game, the homecoming win versus Merco, the defense holding on against Orion at the very end of the game, our week 1 win versus Kewanee, and it was a great season for us. But it's over. It's time to flip the page. It's time to move on. And the coaches know, it is what it was last year. We have to reload, and we have to prove it again this year. We have a good core group of guys coming back from last year, and I don't think that loss is going to hurt us mentally or any of those things. I think more than anything, it just fueled the fire for them. I haven't seen the any of the body language, anyone talking about that, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we were there. We had a chance, and I told the guys at the end of that game last year, if you told me we were in this position in the fourth quarter, I would take it 10 times out of 10. We missed an opportunity, but that's life. But we put ourselves to do something special, and that's what it's all about. Absolutely.
Tyler Whitebread joining me right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. You look at it too, Coach, and you're going into year 3 for yourself. And I talked to Fritz Diodone the other day, and it's about getting those kids and getting them used to you and your system and just the way you do things. And you mentioned those guys, a good core coming back. It seems to be lining up nicely where these guys that are used to you, that were maybe sophomores when you started, or seniors, and those kind of things. Where are you at big picture with this program? And is it one of those things where it is easier as you go along now, year 3 and into your program?
Yeah, so this is my 9th year here, but this is my 3rd year being the head coach at Erie-Prophetstown. So I'm pretty familiar with the kids and the system, and again, having the co-op, that was definitely something it's always a challenge. But I think even when Coach Abbott was the head coach, a lot of things aren't different. There's some little things that I do differently. He did differently, but the message is the same. Put your best foot forward every single day, and give yourself an opportunity to get better. Be a great teammate. And I think with the history of Erie-Prophetstown, it's always been kind of a roller coaster. Even when Chuck Milam was here, Coach Milam, our superintendent. He had some great teams, and he had some teams that struggled, but trying to get the community just to buy in, because I think our players are bought in, but get the community to buy in, just year in and year out, no matter who's on the team, who's not on the team, because you're always going to have those 5 or 6 studs. Every team has those 5 or 6 studs, but it's really that middle group of the team that if you can get out and you can get them convinced to sacrifice and commit and do all those things in the off season, that's when you can get, the Newman tradition and the Rock Ridge tradition, and those teams that just perennial are good every year, and that's really what I want to be. Every year I don't want to be a roller coaster. I want to compete with the best teams, and we always have a chance to compete with everyone in our conference.
Do you look at it, Coach, coming into this year, you mentioned you like the group you have, and then there's some experience back from last year. Tell me about this group, what it can do, some strengths-wise, some players that we can look out for, because there are expectations at Erie-Prophetstown. It's funny, I talked to Guy Derricks yesterday, and there's expectations at Riverdale, and they've embraced them. There's expectations at Erie-Prophetstown, too. Talk to me about those strengths, those players, and the expectations you guys might have this fall.
Yeah, I just want to talk about our senior group for a minute. Ever since they got in at freshmen, they've just put the work in. The core group that we have with seniors are special. I would say, out of my 19 years, they rank definitely towards the top of commitment, understanding sports, just what it takes. And it makes sense because, our quarterback, Keegan Winkler, his dad's the head basketball coach. All right, so he's been around sports his whole life. Max Milam, his dad used to be the old football coach. And now he's our superintendent. So, again, he knows. We got a junior, Tristan Hovey. His dad is the middle school principal. He coaches in the district, So, we got guys that just been around and know. But back to our senior group, these guys have put so much time in. Just some names right off the top of my head. Keegan Winkler, who I mentioned, is our quarterback, who, strong as they come, has speed. Gavin Adams, he was a captain last year. He's a 3-year starter. He's a wide receiver and a linebacker for us. We have Connor Keegan, another 3-year starter, cornerback and a wide receiver. Who else? Braden Frank's coming back. He got some time at linebacker. Jordan Crow, really good wrestler, but also a really good football player. So we got a lot of the pieces. I think with a few teams, it's about how fast can we get a few of these sophomores that are going to have to help us on varsity up to speed, and then some of these juniors that haven't played varsity football. How are they going to react once we actually start moving and hitting and trying to get up to speed? Those are the question marks I have. Our skilled positions, I feel really good about. Those 4 or 5 guys that are going to be able to do some amazing things. I haven't even mentioned, I think our 2 top linemen, they're 2 juniors. They were starting sophomores last year, and both of them told me they were kind of nervous at the beginning of the year, and they went on to have great seasons, both second-team all-conference. And, honestly, I think those 2 are the anchors of our offense and defense of line for sure. And they're juniors. I feel really good about them. I think they're going to have monster years. The Caleb Reamer and Derek Nosker. So, again, I'm pretty excited about that. It's just, can we get those other guys on board and up to speed and believing that they're just as good as the core group?
Coach, I mentioned expectations, and so I know the coach speak 1 week at a time, all those kind of things. But it is an exciting time, and I think the community is excited about what happened last year, what could be this year, and all that kind of stuff. Do you talk about expectations? Do you talk about goals? Do you embrace playoff hopes and those kind of things, or how do you balance that as you get ready for the season?
Well, I did on Monday. I talked about the playoffs. And really, for the rest of the year, I won't, because a lot of those kids that I talked about, those seniors, community members and their parents remind them, what they should be able to do, and I think they feel the pressure. And I noticed that last year at some point in the middle of the season that we were really nervous, and I said, guys, go out and play football, have fun. We lose, we win, we win. This is not the end of the world, but they felt the pressure, and they know what the expectations are. So I don't need to beat a dead horse, so to speak. But I did tell them there's absolutely no reason that we're not back where we were last year, and I'm expecting better. But the one thing, I graduated from Sterling Newman, so Coach Paposi was my coach, and the one thing he never talked about winning or losing. It was always about brotherhood. And it was always about not letting your teammate down, and always playing as hard as you can. And that's what it was. Every single day. And discipline. There's a few other things, but you take care of those things. The wins will come. And again, I know it's a cliche, but I've really tried to tell our coaches let's not talk about winning and losing, because most of our guys, they know what the expectation is. They hear it from people besides us. They don't need added pressure. Let's go out there and execute, play hard, and just let the chips fall where they might.
Tyler Whitebread joining me right now and off the air with Matt Randazzo. A few more for you, Coach, before you get you off into your day. You look at this conference, we started talking about it and how, you guys were set up to pull an upset last year because you play in this conference. And I've talked to so many different people, my friends from View from the West and Greg Armstrong, about you look at the Three Rivers and there's going to be a team that's a really good football team. There might be a team that's a really good football team that might be grinding towards the end of the season to get to qualify for the postseason, all those kind of things. But like same thing. The very next week they get in, they can beat anybody. It's good and bad. You got to get into the postseason in the Three Rivers because of the challenge, but it sets you up to do so many great things. Talk about that conference, because it's tough to look at that schedule, anybody's schedule this year, and be like, all right, well, there's your layup victory, or there's a place where you might get a win or get healthy pretty quick. It's a really good conference this year once again.
Yeah, we're loaded, and that was one thing that I was happy to see with us last year getting in, that we almost pulled off that huge upset against the number 1 seed, because we told our guys that. The coaching staff knows, right? Guys, it's a gauntlet. Get through the season, and we will, whatever team does from this conference can do some damage. And they lived it a little bit, so I think that kind of, hopefully they got to connect the dots, because the coach can say one thing, but until they see it, it might not be true. But this conference presents so many different challenges. You got your power football teams. You get Newman, Riverdale. It sounds like Merco might go back to a little more power running football. But then you got your teams that I saw Chip Filler on this, and what a great offensive mind that just throws so many different things at you, and makes it extremely hard for the defense and the defensive coordinator, and you never know what to expect. And then the Rock Ridge, they can do a little bit of everything. It's tough. And then the crossover games, they got teams over there. So each week is a different challenge. You mentioned the cliche, take 1 week at a time, but you have to. You really do. And, I think last year, Riverdale's been up and coming, but I don't know if our guys believed that last year. And we said, you guys better get ready. Like, they're coming in here and they're good. And again, like the week of practice was a roller coaster. It was up and down, and it was one of those games our guys kind of thought they could skate into. And we got into the game, and they quickly realized, no, like that's not the case. And they're better this year, right? Just like a lot of teams. So again, it's helping the guys create that mindset to know that every week is a grind. Every game is important. Like, we can't, one play is not going to win or lose the game, but there's several plays throughout the game that will. So everything's important. It's just harping on that, and hopefully you want the guys to start saying that to each other and start calling each other out. Well, we have a few of those guys that will, but once you get that, then you have better practices, and practice is everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I let you go, I want to talk to you about Friday nights, because it's special in every community. I've talked to several people that it's big in the big schools and the Western Big Six, and it's almost equally so, if not more special, in communities like Erie and Prophetstown and those kind of things. Kind of talk about a Friday night out in Erie-Prophetstown, because and all those conferences or schools in the conference, it's special, it's fun. And is that what it's all about, is these kids to run out on the field on Friday Night Lights? I know there's another cliche, Friday Night Lights, and what it's like, but it really is special, especially out of Erie-Prophetstown, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'll get into Friday Night Lights, but our in Erie, our school district, we're getting some new bleachers. We got a new press box. We're getting some new Musco lighting. So that's definitely adding to the excitement at our school. But besides that, I was talking to our athletic director, and we were talking about trying to get a few more kids out for football. Every coach, there's a few kids that are on your radar. I said, if I can just get them to Friday night football, if I can get them running out from the end zone in front of the crowd with the music blaring, I got them. They're done. They're part of the program, because it's an unbelievable feeling, and I want all the kids to feel that. For that, for those Fridays, you feel special. You're the limelight. You're the show. And the coach on the sideline, like, I go back to the plane. I feel it. The hair on my arm stands up, and I would never give that up. And again, I want every kid to feel that. And each school is a little bit different, their setup and how they do things in their walkout, and it's fun, man. It's awesome. It's different than every other sport, but again, it's a matter of just getting them out there to feel that. And I'm a firm believer, once you have them feeling that feeling, they're hooked and they're going to come back, whether they're a starter or number 20 or whatever it is. And I know our kids are excited to get back out there. I'm excited. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
It always is fun on Friday nights here in the Quad City area, especially out in the Three Rivers. Coach Whitebread, I appreciate you doing this. Stay healthy, have great success, all that kind of stuff. And we'll catch up with you again real soon. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Well, a lot of exciting times coming up. As mentioned, Friday Night Lights are a special thing, and they come real soon, 2 weeks from Friday. So much more to kind of preview throughout the weeks right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Not just through the weeks, but also today as well. Coming up after the break, we'll hop the river to the Iowa side of the river. We're going to head up to Central DeWitt and check as they get ready for the season as well. You're watching Off the Air on a Wednesday right here in the Quad Cities.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. Names and myself aren't going well. I've never been a great speller, but obviously the mess up in the first segment, that was not Ked Prince. I could not get my system working, so that was Tom Kakert. And then last segment, I got to apologize to Coach Whitebread. I had Whitebeard under his name, which is funny because I emailed him a link and it kept coming back to me because I was spelling his name wrong. So I'm going to get one of these correct today. We're going to continue our OTA high school football previews on the Iowa side of the river, and we're joined now by Clay Waterbury, the head coach out at Central DeWitt. And Coach, I made you check the spelling. 1 out of 3 is not bad, I guess. I mean, if it's baseball, I'm a Hall of Famer. If I'm batting 333, so I'm doing okay. I appreciate
Mine might be the hardest to spell. So.
I know. I get the hard ones. First and foremost, congrats and thanks for doing this. How was the summer? And how is life maybe outside football as you guys kind of get ready for what should be a fun fall up in DeWitt?
Yeah, the summer was awesome. We had a lot of, we really emphasized the weight room this summer, as we always do, but I would say this was the best attendance we've ever had in the weight room. We averaged about 55 football players a day in there 3 days a week. So we were really happy with the guys over the summer and how hard they worked in there. And beyond that, for me, this is my first football season with 3 kids, so that's the other challenges for me outside of football. But thankfully, I have a great wife that also coaches, so she's understanding, and it's going well.
Absolutely. I talked to Coach Whitebread before in the last segment, his were 2 and 5 and mine are 15, 13, 10 and 8. And I spent, and people probably tired of me talking about it in the show, but there was one weekend this year that we had 16 baseball games in one weekend with all the boys playing all over the place. So it doesn't get any slower.
I'm not ready for that.
I was just saying, Coach, it doesn't get any slower. So enjoy these days when they're a little younger before they get running you crazy.
I get my weekends to myself still. We don't have anybody in youth sports yet. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I just talked to my wife the other day, and I'm like, remember back when the kids were little and we thought it was a challenge to go to the grocery store? And okay, we're going to go to the park and the grocery store and then nap time. So those days would be nice these days. Year number 2 for you at Central DeWitt as the head football coach. What's different? I know it's cliche and it's an easy question, but what's different between year 1 and year 2, or preparing for year 1 as opposed to preparing for things this year?
Yeah. I mean, obviously just being a little bit more comfortable for myself. Our staff had a couple changes, but not too many. Really, it's not that much difference. I kind of thought there would be, and you still got to put the work in and still have to get kids motivated. And I mean, from a football player perspective, obviously we have a lot of changes. Last year we were pretty inexperienced. Even though we had a fair amount of seniors, when they were juniors, we had a ton of seniors that had played. So it's kind of the same thing again this year, where we're bringing in guys that haven't played a ton. So I think this is the year where we have some senior captains and then a lot of juniors that are really hungry to prove themselves, and kind of get to go on a little 2-year run here of guys that'll be on the field a lot.
Talk about that and talk about numbers too, because in high school sport, every coach I talk to talks about numbers and getting kids out and kids just are in the hallways that are ready to play and can't play and can't help out. And you mentioned the numbers in the weight room this summer. That's got to be encouraging for you to get as many kids out as possible and to get these kids bought in to Central DeWitt football.
Yeah, our staff, we've got several coaches that teach in the school and all coach different sports, and I think that helps a little bit. But our numbers are on the climb. We'll be pushing 80 this year in the high school, which is very helpful, and that's something that we're looking forward to being a positive. Hopefully, as time goes on, we can continue to grow those. But that's so frustrating. It's a rat race trying to make sure you get everybody you can, and we preach being a multi-sport athlete, so that's something that hopefully continues to grow. And a lot of our kids are out for 3 sports at least, and that's huge too. I think that's really important.
Absolutely. Clay Waterbury joining me right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Coach, when you look at year number 2, it means a little more familiarity with what you want to do on the field itself, and they know you. They'd known you. You weren't a stranger to the program or anything like that. But to kind of get your system maybe in the tweaks that you want to do in place, how much has that helped? You mentioned you graduated some seniors, so it is a newer group, but just as a whole, getting what you want it to look like on the field in place, has that been a little easier this year around as well?
Yeah, we've picked up we had a couple late joints to our offensive staff just because we had a couple late exits in the spring from our staff. So been waiting for the right person, and we ended up with a couple of Whitebread grads, which is where I'm from, which is pretty awesome. Tucker Kinney and John McConaughey, both Sabre alumni. Tucker tried to kind of chase the NFL there for a little bit this past spring, so that's been fun, and they bring a lot of knowledge to the game. We brought back some other coaches on staff. This will be our biggest staff this year, which has been really exciting. Very tight group, and I think we've put all of our emphasis into the trenches this offseason. That's been the number one thing. If you weigh over basically 180 pounds, you're playing line at some point right now. We're just trying to put everybody there and put all of our emphasis there, and those are our team MVPs going into this season. So that's been the big point of focus, is in the trenches.
You mentioned numbers up, but you mentioned before we get on here a smaller team when it comes to size-wise. Kind of talk about that, and how does it change things that you want to do? And I'm a big believer of those guys in the trenches are about attitude more than anything else. Yeah, it helps to be 6'3", whatever. But attitude is a big thing. Technique is a big thing as well. You can teach those kind of things as well.
Yeah, that's been our goal. Actually, you're talking about being with Hawkeye Radio Network some this year. Yesterday we had Pat Anger come talk to the team, and he one thing we were trying to get out of him was just some tips on attitude, physicality, some of those things that he obviously brought to the table when he played football, and that was awesome. But we are we're pretty small as far as size goes, but obviously that's something we have to adjust to and try to play out in space and play fast and keep things simple and make sure our kids are getting off the ball. So we don't lack physical toughness by any means. We'll be seeing how things go with pads on the day, but even though we lack some size, I think we have some guys that have been in the weight room like crazy in the past year, and we'll be okay.
It's funny you mentioned that because I talked to Pat last night late, and I said you were going to be on the show, and he talked about going out and talking and just the the environment out there. He absolutely raved about the environment, the culture, the district, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully, and you don't have to tell me how many, but there was probably a few colorful words being spoken every now and then from Pat.
With not too many. I think with about 5 minutes left in his speech, he said, "What's allowed here? Where's the boundaries?" We're like,
You're pushing them. You're already pushing them, Pat, but it's good. It's good. He does it in such a nonchalant way. It's just like it's the nicest way to use colorful language, if that makes any sense.
He doesn't give himself enough credit, I don't think.
He doesn't, and he's a great dude to have in to talk to those kids as well. When you look at this team, how do you? Obviously, there's motivation. Victories weren't there wasn't a ton of victories last year. How do these kids, motivation wise? I'm sure they're ready to get back and get out there and get Central DeWitt football back to what it's been over the years as well. Are they not?
For sure. Like I said earlier, our junior class is one of our bigger ones, and they've won a lot of games over the last few years of playing football together, and a lot of those guys had to be pulled up last year, and I think that might have been the reason that we had so many kids working so hard this past 12 months or 9 months, is just because they all kind of have a chip on their shoulder and they feel like they're ready to prove what they're capable of. And I've been proud of the way they've come together and worked. But we have some strong seniors too. I mean, we bring back Hudson Kruko on offense, who set some passing records for us last year. Brady Meadows has had an amazing offseason, and maybe you've heard his name from basketball, but he's set to have a huge season for us. He's worked as hard as anybody. And then, we have a few other seniors like Niall Hoopman on the offensive line, and some leaders like Noah Erickson, Ty Henningsen on defense, Abe Vickers. But for the most part, a lot of our juniors coming in are going to be guys that will be playing both ways as well.
You mentioned some names. What are some strengths of this team? To be successful on a Friday night, what's it going to look like, and what do you guys want to do to be successful?
Yeah, I mean, one of my reflections last year was we just have to be better at blocking and tackling, and that's so much easier said than done. Unfortunately, on defense, we don't bring back a ton of our leading tacklers from last year, so a lot to prove there. Like I said, a lot of these guys have done great at the lower levels, so hopefully we can just see that translate. But that's going to be the biggest thing for us, I think, defensive side of the ball, making sure we tackle, and it's going to be a lot of guys that haven't done it a ton at the varsity level. And on offense, same thing. I mean, we believe we have some great skill players. Cooper Small, Keaton Hansen both come back as contributors last year. And those guys, we're putting all the emphasis on the guys up front, because without them, none of our skill players really matter. So that's kind of where we're at on that, and we'll see what happens.
Let's look at that schedule, because I know that you open things up at home, I believe it's a home game this year with Clinton, and that's become such a fun rivalry. And it was a rivalry that, and obviously not in football because the MAC doesn't exist in football anymore, but Central DeWitt going to the MAC and other schools, and it's just a natural rivalry with those guys, and how close you guys are. To get a victory with them last year, and just to open the season with a rivalry game like that. I know there's that other rivalry game that we talk about with Makokata, but talk about Clinton becoming a rival even more over the last couple of years when it comes to those two schools in that area.
Yeah, Coach Streets came into our school, back to our school to be the head coach probably about 6 years ago, and that was one of the main things he wanted to do was make sure that games with Clinton were re-energized and make sure they're on the schedule every year and bring up, Clinton County being a rival. And he did a great job of that. And that's something that we try to continue. But kids love that game. It's always a good battle. They're always huge. And so that'll be a good one, a good challenge for week 1 for us.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, a few more quick ones. Do you set expectations, goals, and how do you do that out at Central DeWitt? And every season's different, every team's different, every coach is different. When you guys set up goals, expectations, how do you look at it?
Yeah, that's a great question. This year, we haven't actually talked about goals as much because, our goal is to make the playoffs, but everybody's got goals to win games, as you hear all the time. So really what we've tried to do is over the summer, we did a leadership course with our players. And then actually last weekend, we did an overnight camping trip basically with everybody. And we've tried to create standards. So rather than talking about, end goals, we're trying to really be process driven, create standards. And our goal this year is to have a player led team. That's what the entire offseason was about. Player leadership, sometimes being lead by example is not enough, having some of these guys speak up. And so when we went out and camped this past weekend as a team, we stayed at Grace Camp here in DeWitt, and the players had to lead meetings, and they came up with some of the standards, expectations for what you should be if you're a Sabre football player and consequences if you don't meet those. And so I'm excited to see, hopefully they're able to transcend this through the season, but that's our goal this year, is to have a player-led team and for them to just meet daily expectations, and we'll see if the goals are met at the end of the season. But we haven't spent as much time with goals as we have standards.
I love it. Last one, maybe a personal one for you. You mentioned the 3 kids and being a head football coach and all those kind of things. Year 2 as a head football coach, what's it mean to have a program? And I know your staff is so important. The kids are so important. I know it's not your program, but to be the leader of a program like Central DeWitt with the history they've had and the Kreiters and all the names out there at Central DeWitt. What's it like do you ever sit back and say, this is kind of cool? I'm leading a pretty cool program right now.
Yeah, it's especially in the summer when you can just, there's no pressure, there's no school, you're just around the kids in the weight room, around them with football. That's the time where I probably do that the most. It's a lot of fun, but I've been so thankful to have someone like Kurt Kreiter in my corner, and he was on staff last year. He's stepping down this year just because of travel. He's tired, and they're going to go all over and watch Casey play football basically. But
yeah, he lives the dream.
Yeah, he does. I think he's only got maybe 1 or 2 NFL stadiums left he hasn't gotten to.
Yep. So
yeah, I've been lucky to have guys like him, and our strength conditioning coach, Adam Grell, this summer was a huge ally for our program. And it's nothing I take lightly. I'm really proud to live in DeWitt. I'm not from here, but I spend a lot of time at the school and trying to connect with kids, and it's something that I take seriously. And I think, it's pretty cool. We have some head coaches like that at DeWitt that really care and are community driven.
No, it's a great district. It's a great community. Even Ron O'Brien, the basketball coach for the girls, is a good guy. No, I know Ron forever, so I like to make fun of him whenever I can. Even he's an okay guy every now and then. So, Coach, I appreciate your time. I know life is busy with kids and football and everything else, so I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Best of luck this season. It's coming quick, so get to work, get those pads on, get rocking and rolling, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. That is Clay Waterbury, the head coach out at Central DeWitt. Our high school football previews continuing here on OTA, and it's crazy. It is right around the corner. The first week of the high school football season, 2 weeks from this Friday. And, of course, we're going to take OTA on the road during the season as well on Fridays and hit some great schools during the day on Fridays. So more on that to come in the future. You're watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak, with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, when it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday to the Quad Cities. Wednesday, August 13th, as we continue to work our way through August. And what should be a fun fall here all around the Quad Cities with everything we have going on. So it's a good time to be a sports fan, especially here in the Quad Cities. Do want to make a note that don't forget on Sunday, we're having our inaugural, never a first annual, always inaugural, View from the West kickoff party. Our good friends over at View from the West, Greg Armstrong, Mansion Company, and myself, are going to have a show from 5 o'clock to whenever the heck we want. A lot of local Illinois high school coaches are going to come down to the other bar in Moline. And we got Godfathers tossing some pizza our way. So a little bit of pizza, some drinks, and a live show. So it'll be on this YouTube channel. It'll be on the View from the West YouTube channel. Easy for me to say. It'll also be on my X account as well. So kind of continuing to look forward to the football season coming up in 2 weeks from this Friday. So if you're in the Quad Cities and you can stop down, please join us. If you cannot, check us out on the YouTube channels. So we want to thank our guest today, Tom Kakert, not Ked Prince, despite what the name said underneath him. I got enough text messages from people letting me know that that wasn't correct. I know that. Got it fixed. And then I misspelled Tyler Whitebread's name. So finally got it right. It's been one of those Wednesdays here on Off the Air. So thank you to both Tyler Whitebread and Clay Waterbury for coming on and talking about their teams. If you've missed your school's preview, go check out the previous shows. This week we've done Rock Island, Davenport Central, Mediapolis, Riverdale, Central DeWitt, and Erie-Prophetstown. So last week we had 8 more of them. So go check out last week's show as well. If you're an Iowa fan and you missed our show from Friday, still very relevant. Go check out Off the Air with Matt Randazzo live from Iowa Football Media Day. That was a ton of fun as well. Looking at his show tomorrow for sure. Up in the air about Friday, kind of depending on how we set things up for the weekend. And then, of course, we have a Sunday show coming up at 5 o'clock down at the other bar in Moline. So most likely no show on Friday, but you never know. Also efforting and touching base with Chase and Randall. Hopefully we'll have him on the show tomorrow. Possibly if we do a show on Friday, we'll have him on Friday. Trying to hook up with him sometime in the next 24 hours. Of course, Chasen recently named as an inductee to the Stanford Hall of Fame. That coming up on September 26th. So we wish him, of course, a huge congratulations. One of the best people you're going to find, and also one of the best basketball players ever from our area. So I want to appreciate you guys for watching today's show, whether you're watching us live, whether you're watching us later on, whether you're listening to us. We appreciate however you consume the show. And of course, we always thank our sponsors for everything they allow me to do here in the Quad Cities every day around 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm also excited to welcome Skiles Driving School as a sponsor coming up real soon. I'm hoping to knock out his stuff this week as well and get him rocking and rolling coming up next week. So if you're interested in working with or partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Reach out. Love to chat with you about the opportunities we have coming up, especially with football season and the school season starting and all that kind of stuff as well. So thank you guys so much for watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday. We will see you guys back here tomorrow.